Most times the deepest pain doesn't come from strangers. It comes from the ones who share your name. I learned that truth too late in life. By the time I realized the cost of trusting blindly, everything I'd worked for was gone, my home, my land, even my dignity. But I also learned something else, that divine justice may walk slowly, but it never loses its way. My name is Edward Lawson, and this is my story. I was born into nothing, and I built everything with my bare hands. For 40 years, I worked day and night to create the Lawson estate, acres of farmland, a family house with white columns and climbing roses, and a business that carried my name with pride. My wife, Helen, was a light that made all those years worth it. Together, we raised 3 children, Eleanor, Michael, and Lucas. They grew up surrounded by love, laughter, and everything I never had as a child. I taught them honesty. Helen taught them kindness. But somewhere along the way, the world taught them greed. Eleanor, my eldest, was ambitious, too ambitious. Michael, my second, was clever, but lazy. And Lucas, my youngest, he was my favorite. Gentle, thoughtful, quiet, the one who always sat beside me in the garden, listening to my stories as a child. Helen used to laugh and say, "That boy will carry your heart, Edward." And maybe that's why his betrayal hurt the most. It all began after Helen passed away. Her death broke something in all of us. For me, it was my will to lead. For them, it was their patience to wait. Helen's absence created a silence in the house, a silence that greed soon filled. At first, it was small things. Eleanor insisted I should modernize the business. Michael wanted to handle the accounts. And Lucas, well, he just followed their lead, assuring me it was all to lighten my load. I believed them, because what father doubts his own children? One morning, Michael brought me a folder filled with papers. He said, "Dad, these are just legal updates. We need your signature to renew some contracts." I didn't even read them. I signed where he told me to, and that signature was the beginning of my downfall. Within 6 months, everything I owned, my estate, my company shares, even my personal savings, had been quietly transferred to my children's names. I discovered it one afternoon when I tried to make a bank withdrawal. The teller looked confused and said politely, "Mr. Lawson, this account is now under your son's authorization." My heart went cold. That evening, I called them all to the dining room, the same table where Helen used to serve Sunday dinner. My voice trembled as I said, "What have you done?" Eleanor exchanged a glance with Michael. Then she smiled, a cold, businesslike smile. "Dad, it's better this way. You're not getting younger. We're just protecting what's ours." "What's ours?" I said, barely whispering. "Everything I built for you, but it's not yours yet." Michael shrugged. "We're just securing the future. Don't make this dramatic." I looked at Lucas, the one I thought still had a conscience. "Lucas," I said softly, "you knew about this?" He couldn't look me in the eye. He said quietly, "It's for your own good, Father. We'll take care of everything now." I felt my chest tighten. It wasn't about money anymore. It was about betrayal. That night, I sat in my study surrounded by memories, photographs, old letters, Helen's laughter echoing faintly in my head. And for the first time in my life, I wept like a child. Weeks turned into months. I was no longer the owner of my own home. Eleanor moved me into the guest room in the same house I built. Michael took over my office, redecorated it, and began hosting clients without even consulting me. And Lucas, he rarely came home anymore. The 3 of them treated me like a shadow, an inconvenience, a ghost wandering the halls of a house that no longer felt like mine. But I didn't fight back. I couldn't, because even in betrayal, a father's heart still loves. Then one winter evening, it happened. Eleanor came into my room with a lawyer. She said, "Dad, it's time we move you somewhere safer, a senior home. You'll be comfortable there." I looked up slowly. "You're sending me away?" She sighed. "Don't make this harder than it is. We decided it's best. You'll have nurses, meals, peace. Peace? I interrupted, my voice shaking. You're giving me peace by taking away my life? The lawyer placed a document before me. It's already finalized, Mr. Lawson. The property is fully under their control. You no longer have legal claim. That was the moment I realized my own children had exiled me. They sent me to a retirement villa, a polite name for a lonely building filled with forgotten parents. My room was small. My view limited to a gray courtyard and a single oak tree. Days blurred into weeks. No visits, no calls, just silence. Every night, I'd look out the window and whisper to Helen. I kept my promise. I raised them well, but they forgot what love looks like. One Sunday morning, I asked a nurse to buy me a small notebook. I began writing, not letters of anger, but lessons. Every night, I'd fill its pages with memories, wisdom, and forgiveness, even when my heart resisted. Because I knew one day that little book might find its way home. And that was how divine justice began weaving her plan. 1 year later, the economy shifted. The Lawson estate, once flourishing, started collapsing. Contracts failed. Investors withdrew. Eleanor's arrogance, Michael's carelessness, and Lucas's silence began to cost them everything. Within a year, what they built on deceit started crumbling beneath them. But fate wasn't done. Not yet. One afternoon, as I sat in the garden of the senior home, a familiar car stopped outside. A young woman stepped out, elegant, well-dressed, with kind eyes. She approached me and said softly, "Mr. Lawson, my name is Claire. I work for a development company. We were looking to invest in Lawson Estates, but something strange came up in our records. May I ask you a few questions?" I smiled faintly. "You're looking at the founder, my dear. Ask away." She frowned. "But according to legal documents, you were declared mentally unfit years ago." I froze. "Mentally unfit?" She nodded. "Yes, the papers were signed by your children." For a long moment, I couldn't speak. The world tilted. They hadn't just taken my property. They had stripped away my identity. And that was the moment I decided I wouldn't let this story end in shame. For months, Claire helped me investigate. She was kind, patient, and sharp. Every document she uncovered told a deeper story of lies, signatures forged, and profits stolen. And slowly, quietly, divine justice began to move her unseen hand. From that day on, I knew the truth. My own blood had declared me insane to take what I built. And yet, I felt no anger, only a quiet ache, the kind that sits deep inside a father's soul when love and pain become the same thing. But I also knew something my children didn't. The truth always finds its way home. With Claire's help, I began to collect pieces of my past, old contracts, photographs, letters from my late wife Helen, and most importantly, proof that every company decision, every estate purchase, every single seed of Lawson Holdings had begun in my name. Claire worked tirelessly, sometimes late into the night, her laptop glowing in that dim little room of the senior home. She once said softly, "Mr. Lawson, they've built a castle on a lie. You may not have strength to fight, but time will." And she was right. Months passed, and then came the first tremor of karma. A rumor spread through town that the Lawson family business was under investigation. Apparently, Michael had made a risky deal with a fraudulent foreign partner. Millions were lost overnight. Eleanor's face was suddenly on newspapers, not as a businesswoman, but as a suspect in financial mismanagement. Still, I stayed silent. I didn't gloat. I didn't speak a word. Because sometimes, the quietest revenge is to let truth speak for you. Then one evening, as the sun bled across the horizon, Lucas came to see me. It was his first visit in over a year. He looked older, not in years, but in guilt. He walked into my small room, eyes downcast. "Father," he said softly, I don't know where else to go." I didn't answer. I simply gestured for him to sit. He told me everything. How Eleanor had turned on Michael, accusing him of mismanagement, how lawsuits piled up, how the estate was on the brink of collapse. He said through trembling lips, "Father, I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I looked at him, the boy who once held my hand in the garden, now a man swallowed by regret. You followed them, I said quietly, and now you see where greed leads. He lowered his head. I thought I was protecting you. I didn't know they'd go this far. I sighed deeply. No, son, you were protecting yourself. But that's all right. Life has a way of teaching us what love could not. That night, he didn't leave immediately. He sat beside me for hours, just like when he was little. Before leaving, he whispered, I miss Mom. She'd know what to do. I smiled faintly. Your mother always knew, but she trusted us to learn. Maybe this is the lesson. As he walked away, I felt a strange peace in my heart. I didn't know it then, but divine justice was already setting the stage. Weeks later, Claire discovered something remarkable, a hidden clause in the original estate documents, handwritten by Helen herself. It read, should any transfer of the Lawson properties be executed through deceit or under false pretense, ownership shall revert to Edward Lawson upon confirmation of fraud, or to his direct legal heirs who prove loyalty and integrity. Helen, my brilliant, cautious Helen, even in death, she had left a shield around my legacy. Claire smiled when she found it. Your wife was a visionary, Mr. Lawson. She knew this could happen. I closed my eyes, whispering, she always did. With that clause, Claire took the evidence to court. The process was slow, painfully slow, but justice has her own rhythm. The court summoned my children. Eleanor arrived in her usual poise, though her confidence cracked around the edges. Michael came looking like a ghost, thinner, quieter, broken. Lucas sat beside them, eyes red, unable to look my way. When the judge asked me to speak, I rose with trembling hands. My lord, I said softly, I am not here to fight my children. I'm here to remind them that family built on deceit is no family at all. I told the truth, calmly, fully, about how I had been misled, about the signatures, the lies, the silence. When I finished, there wasn't a sound in the courtroom. Eleanor's face was pale. Michael's hand shook. Lucas was crying. In the following weeks, the court ruled in my favor. The estate, the business, and every asset they had stolen were returned under my rightful name. But there was more. The investigation revealed that Michael's fraudulent partner had used Lawson Holdings to launder money. Charges followed. The newspapers that once praised them now tore them apart. Eleanor vanished from the public eye. Michael faced trial. And Lucas, he came to me one rainy evening, falling to his knees. Father, he said, sobbing, I don't care about the company. I just want your forgiveness. I touched his shoulder gently. You've seen what greed does, my son. Now live differently. That's how you'll earn forgiveness. Life began to move again. Slowly, I returned to the Lawson house, though it felt emptier without Helen's laughter. Claire stayed in touch, helping me rebuild the business, this time with honesty and compassion at its core. I often sat by the window, watching the sun rise over the estate, whispering, you did it, Helen. You protected me, even from our own. But divine justice wasn't finished yet. One cold morning, I received a letter, and signed but written in familiar handwriting. It said, Father, I have nothing left. My arrogance has destroyed me. I see now that what we took was never truly ours. If I could undo it, I would. Eleanor. Attached to the letter was a small silver locket. Her mother's, the one Helen used to wear every day. Inside, a faded photo of our family, before greed, before division, and beneath it, a single note, forgive me. I closed my eyes, whispering, forgiveness is not a door, Eleanor. It's a journey. I hope one day you walk it. That evening, Lucas came by again. He sat with me in the study and said, Father, what will you do now? I smiled faintly. Nothing, son. Justice has already done enough. My only task now is to live with peace. He nodded slowly. Do you ever regret loving us? I looked at him and said softly, Never. Because love is not a transaction. It's a reflection of who we are, not what we receive. He didn't reply, but in his silence, I heard something new. Understanding. And just when I thought life had given all its lessons, something beautiful happened. Claire, the young woman who had helped me, invited me to her wedding. As I stood in the church watching her smile, surrounded by laughter and honesty, I realized something profound. The family we lose through greed can sometimes be replaced by the family we gain through kindness. That night, as I walked out under the stars, I whispered to Helen, "Justice found its way home, my love, and so did I." Thanks so much for stopping by. Your subscription means a lot. Do well to also give a thumbs up. See you also in the next story. Bye.